strongest of the structures in the night. And we got to take us through the night. If you have strong faith, you will stay alive. If you live with love, you shall survive. Things and times are rough. Don't it get so tough. We never get enough. The Lord is near and the Lord is near and yes, He must be near and things and times are rough. Dirty gets so tough. We never get enough. The Lord is nearer and He must be nearer and now what we are gonna do? Money can't help you. Rich man I feel it too. The Lord is nearer and He must be nearer and oh yeah. Strongest of the structures in the night. And we got to take us through the night. If you have strong faith, you will stay alive. If you live with love, you shall survive. If you have strong faith, you must stay alive.
My brothers and my sisters, now this is a message of love. Oh, yeah. And if only everyone learned to live in love and unity, then things would be better. Not only things would be better, but the world would be better. All right. Walking down the streets in Africa, looking at the sky in Africa, searching for a place which is Africa. And there's no need for wars in Africa. Don't you know that it's true, that for me and for you, slavery abolished. Don't you know that it's true, that for me and for you, the world is a ghetto. Wondering where I'll find peace and rest. Somewhere there's a home, sweet at night. Got to give it up now again. Don't you know that it's true, that for me and for you, slavery abolished. Don't you know that it's true, that for me and for you, the world is a ghetto. There's no need to go anywhere. Africa is here. You can have your share. You know that for me and for you, the world is a ghetto. Don't you know? Come on, that it's you, that for me and for you. Don't you know?
I know, say, from music to play them on the F already.
Let go big chore.
When we are hungry and have no food to eat, we never stop praising Jah, 'cause Jah will provide.
It's a go, yeah.
Yeah. Got to tell you, 'cause it's true. So as it were in the beginning, so shall it be in the end. With thunder, earthquake, and lightning, Jehovah dashed them again and again. I'm alone in this wilderness. Lord, you know I'm trying to do my best to make my life secured from this poverty. Yet all I see around me is pure misery. False leaders are dealing with partiality. False leaders are dealing with a whole lot of hypocrisy. What you gonna do, Nana? Yeah. What you gonna say? Tell me what you gonna do now. Yeah, we came a long way, and we still got a long way to go. All the fussing and the fighting, Jehovah help us, I know. What you gonna say now? Yeah, now. So as it were in the beginning, so shall it be in the end. With earthquake, lightning, and thunder, Jehovah dashed them again and again. False leaders are dealing with partiality. you gonna do? You know that it's true, yeah. Every vine shall find its own fig tree, but Africa is for me. Every vine's gonna find its own fig tree, but Africa is for me. Tell me what you gonna say now.
Bring peace. repeats itself every few hundred years. We don't want to end up in slavery again.
Greetings, we there with you. Just to let you know, we there, man. See, greetings. Technical realignments, but through the power of the Almighty. See, we there. Give thanks. Yes, we fit. And we are able, you know, fraudulently, conspiracies, I don't ever give up. A London thing this, you know. Don't want to end up in a slavery, mental or otherwise. Even if it's African, may I tell you? Yo, Mr. Best, we there with you. Yeah, man, fraudulently, we there with you. Schizophrenic too. Murky waters as well. We have got symbolism. We are go biblos. We are go across the universe. Factually. High grade. Hold up. Set the bright lights. Turn off. Use your ears and listen. Symbolisms. Fraudulent. School. Settle, mommy, cause I'm your child. Can't change, man. What for? Honesty is the best policy, people. I'm telling you. Honesty. You don't care how a person go behave. I behave the same way if me
Calling the meek and the humble. Welcome to Blackboard Jungle. So
man,
don't you fumble.
Or stumble.
Just be humble.
Cause you may stumble. Listen. This is when I used to walk the street. Do it. Scratch it. Scratch it. Yeah, man, Skunk. And we used to say, Jaja! What's wrong? What's wrong? 365 years, I never put the J there. I never make up the alphabet. You're funny, man. Pollute the world. Energy. In a white man country, in a concrete country, we survive and still do. No African skin to our rescue in our needs. Whether to teach us or to liberate us. And we will never, ever forget that. Would never. Is you alright, Mike? Is you got a chip on your shoulder? Pull off. Long time. I'm getting dizzy. Watch me, man. The water's murky, 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 murky waters. Use both ears. That the symbolism is deep. And the reality is true. Honor your mother and your father, so that your days will be long on this land which the Lord God gives all of us. Humble yourself. But I have no cheeks to turn. I am not the son of Jesus Christ. I'm the son of Adam. And I'm a created being of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, God Almighty. Bend down to no man. You understand me, man? Put that in your pipe and smoke it. I grade, pronounce it. Cali weed. Yo, pass me a light. Could be on the right. Even the left. My name is Bess. I'm gonna decast to you. You're too confusing. Full of illusions. Personally, I will confuse you. Seriously, I'm tired. I'm one of those people that never let go, you know. You see me? Things and time.
Things and time will tell you.
Teach.
Teach and time will meet.
Teach.
Things and time will tell you. Teach and time.
Special request to the man called Mr. Derek Crucial Harriet.
Time and history record is judgment. It's only judge that can solve this problem.
Rebel with a cause.
Time and history record is judgment. It's only judge that can solve the problem.
Mighty wailing souls.
Oh yeah. Things and time will tell.
Yes, teach.
And time will meet. They bound you in. Things and time will tell. Lots of fire burning. And time will meet. No one doesn't care when it
what a reward.
No one doesn't care anymore. No one doesn't share anymore. Still there is battles to be won. Yeah. One time.
School. School.
When they're not your garment, but your heart.
Yo, technician.
When they're not your garment, but your heart. For unseen eyes are watching over you. And whatever you do, he will do. Whoa, whoa, yeah.
Things in times. What a name, eh?
They love you, yeah.
Gashing up the teeth.
They love you, yeah. Yeah. Where you gonna run to?
Could not run.
Where you gonna hide?
Cannot hide.
For there will be no hiding place.
No.
That I am sure.
I'm telling you.
They love you, yeah. They bound to me. They love you, yeah. Yeah.
Testify, testify. Testify. Mighty Wailing Souls, man. Surprise me, eh? Things in times. Yeah.
You can't take me for idiot. Both say you love me, me no feel that.
Lock it up, lock it in with your favorite radio DJ.
Things and Times.
Yes, Ochi.
Things and Times. Channel of Enlightenment. You're in tune to Things and Times with Mr. Best.
Tell them,
Things
tell
and
them.
Times.
Tell them.
Hey, anyone.
Tell them. Watch it, man. The Rasta man are come. Talk to them. Chesedek. Oh, you have to wait for him. Yo, Ping, you have to make that thing that's shorter, you know. Because you see, when we put it on autoplay, that's the problem. You see? That's the problem. When you put it on autoplay, it not pick up when we want it to pick up because it take too long. You see? You and Roddy have to sort them something there. They are technical snags, you know? So, all this by the fingertips.
Hey, moving forward, yeah. Forward, march, march, till we get justice. March, 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 resist injustice. March.
Yeah, you see, people, it's not boasting. What we try come here to do is just to speak, inform people of statutory employment, statutory engagements that gave our areas advantages. And the years that our parents have been in this country, the activists that came out of them taught the generation before me And them taught me and others that that was the way to go. So we can develop stability and directions in this country. Housing, employment, opportunities. And then swings and roundabouts came. What is that? We start being mistreated horribly. So now the tactics, or some tactics had to be deployed, or some strategies had to be found. Not energy, a lot of intellectual things needed to be found and sorted out. And those days, as a young person, there was lots of activity. People going all across England, not London, all across England, in search of knowledge. But the knowledge was resourceful knowledge because you are talking about finding individuals and reporting to different peoples that look like us concerning the experiences. And being a teenager, young person, sometimes you're shuttling around behind these people because they're not leaving you. So we grew to hear and understand what our strategy is and to understand what the issues or the problems were or are. So I am saying that many of us, we kind of learn through trodding and through sitting down among and listening and hearing. Whether we wanted to hear or not, we were exposed to it. But it wasn't about fraudulence, or to be a thief, or to be smart, or to do all wrongdoings. No. We hear people applaud. We know the word today, applaud. And people were enraged and disgusted that nothing, there was no, not solution, there's no way out of the swing and roundabout. But them never give up. And then there were a number of persons that understood this country to a degree. I can say that today. And the way they were speaking and the literature, the documents, the books that they were using, recording, and indicating, it's all about law. Now we saw and recognize that the situation, the tempo, the urgencies change. Words that I'm using was not used then, and I did not know then because I'm small. I'm a young boy. But the nobleman family, to name but one, which was very, very empowering when it comes to young people being exposed to what the happenings That was the family. That was the family. And may God bless them and bless the family, mother and father. And all the children too, because we all is in this. Were in this. And then you had the Renwick, Roger Sylvester's family, and you had the Joseph family. These families, they were like what today back then we call them bookworm. We said they're the intellects, intelligent people, very calm spirited, but precise in their speaking. So we learned very early that legalities, being right, legalities, it's got to be what our communities require. We need to be able to represent ourselves in the legal stage. Because the hostilities, the ignorance, the racism, the prejudice, the discrimination, all those things that we have, that we learnt, all them words, and how they have been displayed in relation to us, and how to deal with evictions and landlords and tribunals, and to understand the language, the words, the literature, the wordings that they're using in these places. That's why when I go back to think about 1661, 62, 63, and someone is saying, or peoples are saying, hey, you're free. No, what talking about? And today we take it for granted that our ancestors understood and were able to communicate with these people to a level of maturity in terms of understanding the definition of the said language. It wasn't possible. We're shortchanging ourselves. There were some peoples that was found to be able to read, but some of their lives were not spared. And some of them, their bodies were dismantled. I'm searching for a word. And some lost their tongues because they were able to communicate in variant language plus the English. And these people did not tolerate that. So, back to the free, why is anybody in the 21st century feels that, yeah, because this thing said life matters and blah, 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 and everybody's saying something that somehow our people, hundreds and thousands of them, not all together, were actually understanding or actually understood what was being said and what was meant. Now, where would they go? What would they do? What did it mean? Anyway, so this is how we were raised. And this is how we were encouraged. So By the time many of us finish school, as in sixth farm or fifth year sixth farm, because some people left at the end of the fifth year, and some stayed on to the sixth and the upper sixth. In our day, you know, and then today you call it year 11, and then you deal with what them call it, college something anyway. Sixth farm center and this and that, right? But we stayed on in school to fifth year, sixth year, and upper sixth. Sometimes from fifth year, we into straight college because we have the grades. You needed 5 GCSEs of good standing grades to enter a college. Wow. See, young people them today, them getting them. Hey, things are made easy. Trust me. And you need 5 good GCSE and 2 A-level for go university. Yes. For go university. So when you see us back then taking advantages of these things, what says anyone now? So that's why we come here, to say that somehow we have shortchanged ourselves, and some of us who knows are refusing to come off them city or to stop the lawlessness that they are doing and aid and support their children, our children, all of us, with a wise word, with an informative word, even some advice in relation to critical thinking. Because many of us have experienced the life. We have lived it. We have been, because we are here. It's not yesterday we land from someplace. And we know that Cha-Cha provides all her substance, all her food stuff. We know that. We knew it, we know it. And the other groceries come from Tesco's, Sainsbury, Safeway, everybody else. So there's a lot of us that has been very, very hurt that is what the case has been and still is. Now, my generation, land was purchased to have the International African Caribbean Supermarket. That's why we're still here on this station, on this platform, to try to do we thing and voice out. It's not hypothetical bullshit and something that people were dreaming about. It's a reality. It's not saying something good to make it sound like some of us are mean something different. No. We needed also banks. But the West Indian Standing Conference, the lack of intervention and good support from the ambassadors of the Caribbean islands were ineffective. And everybody disagreed to agree not to do. Because was Birmingham going to be the capital center for the bank, or London? Type of ineffective reasoning and arguments and status that took place. Meanwhile, like this brother here called me fraud, there were people who weren't in support of Brother Sam, Brother Herman, and Brother Michael. And then politics, what I know today now, them say, and all of us, my age group, get to understand this word now. Politics start playing some role. So we have the land, but everything went on froze, on freeze, on stall, on pause. No foundation, no building. We just were waiting. No millions were absconded by anybody. Factual. Why this is happening, our areas were becoming fractured. What's that? Today we're going to call it gentrification. Many of us were told all kinds of stories that things and this and that and that and that was going to happen and rare. And those people who were in mortgages were given some flimsy offers. Those who were not in mortgages were also given some flimsy offers and threatening letters and threatening knocks on the door that will have X amount of time to leave. Leave, you know. So that means you have to find some other place to go and find some place to go and rent. Find somewhere to go. No hospitalities. Just, this is the amount of time you have. And before you know it, vast area across Islington, all the way up to Finsbury Park, was now defranchised. And people were dispersed, displaced. So, no connections, loss of connections. Not ambition, as some would have it. No. A bigger force destroyed the communities. And a high volume of us finish up in entrapment. Where? How? On estates, in flats, in blocks, suffering a different emotion that none of us have experienced ever before. It created a different drama, a huge experience for us, a people that love space. Can you imagine the psychology? Can you imagine? Nah, we are fraudulent. This is our experience. This is not George Orwell's experience, even though he's writing. This is our experience. Who's our? The African Caribbean peoples and family who were here originally to immigration. And this is not Islington. This is Shepherd's Bush. This is Ladbroke Grove. This is Brixton. This is Clapham North. Balham. This is Willesden, Harsden, Neilston. This was, that was. Fraudulent, our experience, maybe you captured some of us and sold us into slave. Check yourself before you wreck yourself. You're dealing with a field marshal general that don't partial. I came here so that children and adults who didn't know and who knew would be reminded. Because to be going around swings and roundabouts all the time with no success and no achievements has been a waste of time, 76 years of it. The young people, my child, your child, everybody else's children and grandchildren deserve better. And some of us knows better. And we can direct the traffic better, and we can also do better. I know that. Others know that. This is straight talk. Not hook line, not fraudulent, because you're jealous. Because you have a problem. Now let's deal with social science now. Relationship. An individual is in a relationship. The relationship is nothing to do with me or my family. But the relationship is a relationship. Health issues occurs in this relationship. This is nothing that I know. I've been made privileged to it. So I'm speaking it because my family tired of it. So true to that, some things happen. What has happened? The health situation, upon knowing it, was something that maybe fate alone could have dealt with. I don't know. But it ran a course that became tragic. My wife was diagnosed with lymphoma cancer. But my wife decided that she were not going to take any form of institutional, that's what we call it, medication. She was going to pursue roots and more organic and cleanse her body. And let that natural body that her parents gave her, blessed by God, start working. Try to remove the toxins and give her body a good chance. To try to eliminate the toxins that cause the imbalance. I saw she read in the book of Eden or something of this nature. Eden? Yes. Maybe I've got the title wrong. But this was her crest. All I was saying to her as the husband, stop trying to turn me into a rabbit. because everything was green, and carrots and beetroot and, hey, listen, and juicing, So I was told, do not be part of the problem. Be supportive. So I was being supportive. I tried to be supportive, except being a rabbit. And get involved in this juicing. And we will hire farms in England for our retreats. And I learned to pick nettles. I learned to juice nettles. I didn't know, never knew. We ran from nettles. Stay away from them. That there's so much different species, if you like, of nettles. It's not species. Species is a living being. Different grades of nettle. But we use those things. And we also used a thing called kombucha. Kombucha is made from, an algae that springs. You can start it with a green tea that builds a culture, and then that culture springs, and you take that liquid that is marvelously formed, and surprisingly, it is a liquid that is similar to water because it's a liquid, and you have to ask the origin of creation. Where did that liquid come from? It's not magic, but it does happen. It has happened. I'm sitting next to some right now that is so matured. People who know this would pay me or would try to convince me to part with it. From their eyes, witness it, then want it. They would want it. Kombucha. Not made in any store. Because you can go to some stores and see it in bottles. So this is what happens. Soon as something get leak out, big people them come, start a business. Anyway, we're moving on to the situation. So we go to Islamic classes, developing our spirituality. This is before anything about illness. So we never stop anything. She just kept doing everything as per normal, except taking chemotherapy, radiotherapy, any of these things. So wise being there, our teacher, with another young man, made a suggestion that we never knew nothing about, but we were told that we should go to Ethiopia. And then I was told straight like this: you have money, you have a position, I would like you to accompany your wife, make her feel comfortable, and come back to your employment. But if you desist, you would never, your life would be ruined. You will live to regret. So there's no escaping that. If I was even thinking, there's no escape there. Logically, rationally, whatever. And all I had to do is tell my mother, here what happened? I'm going to Ethiopia. So I was blunt and bold, and she said, what for? I said, well, it's to spend some time, take Imam, make her feel comfortable, and come back and continue work. What you carrying her there for? Blah, 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 blah. So, long story short, Mom didn't like the idea because it was like nobody knew nothing. It's a dark thing. But as the preparation time come and getting the visas, blah, 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 fix up, we're able to tell her, no, we're not leaving England just to go over there for some prayers and sit down with some people chanting and everything. We're going to see a lady, some peoples that deal with herbs and so forth. And that was it. We went. Alhamdulillah, was received fantastically, everything. I witnessed some remarkable things that people call miracles, but I witnessed them, and I came back to England. My wife is a brave woman, very strong, stern woman, and she stayed the course, did what she needed to do. And we had translators, as well as there are people who could speak English. But I came back to England. A statutory employee, got to do my work. But I felt good because I accomplished my task, and I saw some things that make me feel, yeah, I witnessed it. And my wife, alhamdulillah, is here today, in this time, all praise due to God Almighty, in life. She has been living an obedient life from that time to this time. And I stress obedient because you have to do as you're told. Keep the body clean, remove toxics if certain things happens, and don't tell people, say, that X, Z, and Y, and I cured myself. Close them up. Give praises to God. And the herbs, which belongs to God. The plants, the flowers, whatever it is, the sticks. So, I said all that to say this. People's heard not that my wife is cured or we have this strange solution or medical things and so forth. People who knew her and heard from the gatherings that the Sheikh does have in Cricklewood, they're happy, elated. And words got around that such and such is happening and everybody's happy. Naturally. So, in that people, a lot of people that we never knew at all, and not Muslims, all peoples, somehow descended on us. We not say, hey, yo, back off. No, can't do that. Could not. It wasn't about consultation and you have a pay for tell we story. No. People just want to know. People want to say their prayers. People just want to see with their own eyes that she was here. People want to see the scars, that no operation. People just, this is people. But my wife is able to tell them about detoxification, about toxins, about the beginning, her process of cleansing her body and giving her immune system, giving her body that God gave her and her mother and father give her, get it back near 100%. Not knowing that there was a journey. Not knowing that there's a journey that we were going to be undertaking. We never know nothing about them thing there. But we did follow the instructions, as in, and because financially I was able, and the Sheikh did say that, but him said if I don't support, how things would be for me. So it was kind of like a mental threat, but at the same time, it was rational and logical because I did have the money, obviously. I did have the money. I mean, I worked for the government. I wasn't searching, I wouldn't have to search for money. But the money was made good use of, I tell you. So, in the long and the short, with all these people, different people's knowing, some people, up to today, they will speak of my wife. And some people that knows me and knows somebody that know me will call me, even know, and ask me. And I would tell them, Pastor, what I'm telling you, I'll know. And no more. But we do advise our persons, that if they want to make that journey, one thing that they must be able to be doing is to say, well, you haven't taken this treatment, because if you do, the individuals are not going to attempt to do nothing with you because you've already started that course, right? And the two things are not going to, they're going to collide. And the colliding is that the one that you're already taking is weakening you, and the one that they're going to administer to you is not going to function. You know, that's how we took it. So if there's people who want to make those journeys, that's all we advise them. We say, well, this is what you do. But also, again, what has the hospital, what information you've gotten from them? What level, what stage are you at? Important information. We're not the physicians, but we're following the steps that we took. And we're following the information that our herbalists advise us with. And that's all we do. That's all we do. So if someone mentioned myself and my wife, it is in relation to our experience and situations and something that has happened in real time with us. Not that we are the physicians, not that we are God, not that we're the gynecologists, nothing of that kind. But me, personally, I have no clue about nobody, and I had no clue that somebody was seeking us, or seeking us as in me and my wife. So leave me and that alone. I have no clue. I didn't have a clue, I still don't have a clue, and I don't understand why you're associating me with such a thing. Now, I've said it on the ear, I've said it to you several times, leave me peacefully alone. You understand? Just leave me alone. Because you pollute my world. You make my something toxic. You make the people them who I hear me think say that me a schizophrenic. And by far, I'm my mother's child. There's no schizophrenia going on here. It's just that I'm not a back down person. I'm not a back down person. And I'm not in the forgiving mode of anything either. God is the forgiver, not me. And for real, you don't know my name. I changed my name. I changed my name because Islam is my life and my death. Not you and your uncle. Not anybody but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we don't pray to Muhammad. We love Muhammad. And I don't know which Muhammad people talks about. But we talk about Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, the prophet of Al-Islam. Not the prophet of the nation of Islam, not the prophet of the Qadianis, not the Catholic prophet of some people, and not these people that go on Facebook. None of these people, we don't know them people there. We don't know them Muhammads there. You understand? The prophet that the angel, Archangel Gabriel alayhi salam, taught to read and gave him Kitabullah. That's the prophet of Al-Islam. The one who received Kitabullah, the criterion. The one who received the peace cord for mankind. The one who was instructed to read. The one who was ummi, had no knowledge, no education, was illiterate. That Muhammad. The one who cleansed the Kaaba, that Muhammad. The place called Becca, that Muhammad. The one who is the seed of Ishmael alayhi salam, that Muhammad. The one who went to Jannah al-Firdaus, that Muhammad, which is the first heaven, the second heaven, to the seventh heaven. That Muhammad. The one who migrated to Mecca and to Medina, that Muhammad. Do you want any more clarification? We don't wassoo around here. So I'm not begging nobody for like me. I'm not beg a person for is decipher the things I have to say, not these things here, concerning infrastructure for us and our children, and to help prohibit the loss of lives of our children. A man supposed to look upon that and feel that and understand that. And if you see that it's fraudulent, there's something wrong with your perception of life, and there's something wrong with your perception of ears, and hatred and hostility is in you, pertaining to me. And nobody na ask you to sit down, walk out and jump out and listen me. You're free, either to hear and not to hear. When principle come in on Friday, it's called cultural expression. And true you don't know, say we are sound people, tip a tone. We keep the vibration going because him intend for switch back on. And to do that, him have to get all hands back on deck. Clean them up, tidy them up, inspire them. And we have to start writing and producing enough rhythms. So that's what we do on Fridays. And we promote young British talent and young yard talents. And we are playing enough fresh tune. Or so we stay already, and you don't know that. And we don't play nothing that we make yet. We haven't played nothing that we made yet. Wait till we start make them. Wait till we start play them. This corona virus has halted lots of things for everyone. We're in a state of utter darkness and pure confusion. Hostility is the least thing that I need around me. Anybody need. So you could think me is a jankro. Are your prerogative? But fraud, I'm very independent. My family is in totality very independent. We don't fraud even an ant. So stop that one. So I tell you, I'm not one of them put me in a corner and squeeze me and then all of a sudden I'm in submission and then I go and duck and die. I'm not a Frank Bruno or whoever. No, stop that. Seriously. You have to ease off me. I'm telling you. Things are going to get dark. You understand? Because I'm not a back down person. It's kill, you have to kill me first. I'm not a back down person. I'm saying it again. That's twice, yeah? Third time. This is Nigerian, Ghanaian, this is African. I'm not a back down person. 3 times. Can't miss it. Can't miss it. You understand? So, murky waters, people. Spotlight shine bright on Mr. Best murky waters. No. Murky waters is this, you know. There are people, all of us, that do things. And symbolic gestures and symbolic images is what the hierarchical people deal with. But symbolism is everywhere. It's just that some of us haven't paid it attention. I can't recognize it. It's just like the last 3 weeks since this young man got killed. People are emphasizing on the bigger symbols, the statues, and it's a strange thing. It's an awakening. Now, the system, the governments, the institutions, they send their people out to make fair speeches in relation to why Arville is up there and so forth. And then to make acclaimants, well, it's part of the country's history and so forth, which it is. Others are saying, well, the person was a butcher of men, is a slave conqueror. It's not nice that he's there. And then I'm saying, well, hold on a minute. The statue's been up there for 70-something years. Why, you never witnessed it? Now, I'm not saying that the person have to be 70-something years or something to know. But a lot of people know. It never occurred to them that it can, and it was a symbol of racism, because this is England. It's their country. Many of those people, besides slavery, are heroes, part and parcel of the colonial British Empire. We have to also understand that it was a British empire. There was a British empire. Them conquer most of the reality of the world. By hook or crook. That's what they did. And what them couldn't conquer by themselves, them partner others. By association and wreck the place. And then later on, the same person that them get hate and support from, them boot them away. That's the alliance between England, Germany, and France. And then little more, them had the same alliance with Italy, the popes. Then them have the agreement to disagree. and them reagreements, realignments, and then them disagreements, and then the realignments, and they went into Ethiopia. Woo! You understand? England, them do the same thing all across Africa. And they make sure them have the majority in Africa. When first, they weren't good at navigating and finish up all in the royalty desert. But them pull no strokes on the Germans and the Portuguese. And them finish up with a lion's share and the most prospective share of the continent. Did you read that? Of course I did. From who? The British. I read it right here. And I was taught it before I read it. So I was encouraged to go and see for myself, search it out. So I could even pass my exams too. What am I saying now? Murky waters, symbolism, symbolic gestures. So, some people will say, well, we are trying to tell the young people them. I'm saying to the young people them, this is England. Don't go to jail for a statue. Don't get yourself in a crossfire for a statue. You have been educated, you are in the educated institutions of learning. Use that sharpness, that integrity to highlight and use the law, which we weren't using, but use it now at that level of towards discrimination, racism, and have the power invested in you from the cultural attaches across the British Commonwealth and the British Isles. And you'll be very, very well heard. You'll be heard, and I do believe you'll be very rewarded. It'll be very rewarding because you're going to cross the whole continent. You're going to cross the whole existing still British colonial influences and the servitudes that they still have. And maybe you will help bring down and remove the near-colonial ties and give some release to the continent. But legal. If you try to attempt that and you finish up in jail, then that now work. And you set a standard for anybody else that try a thing straight to jail again. It now work. In that principle, tell me, you're taught like this because the fire have gone out to your belly, because when you reach a certain years line, then that heat, that blazing fire, you know, is not there. And that's true. But you see, what I'm advocating is in Islam what they call hikmah. You understand? Use your natural faculties because you're an intellect. See? So when you have to use the brawl, then you could be like a Bruce Lee. You never see Bruce Lee getting, huh? Any person that deal with martial arts, I don't care how you dislike the Chinese right now. Anybody that deal with martial arts, you have to be calm. Anybody that's a real good boxer, that's why Muhammad is outstanding. A real good boxer, you have to be calm. See? Whether you have Southport or not, you have to be calm. You have to have strategy. You understand? You have to have strategy. Why is your work with your strategy? And you got your angles, your position and everything. And then a one punch you look with, you know. See? Because a lot of them other guy there, they were one punch a person. And then when they work them down and work them down, keep mashing them up, them get fed up of being hit in the same place all the time, consistent, bum, 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 right? What them can do? They want the fight to finish. They might try use them sledgehammer, and it not connect. And then one time them use it, but them so slow and them off balance. And them just get a touch on them ratty chin or them jawbone. And then wake up the next day. You understand? So, no. That's symbolism. That's symbols all across the country. Across the world. But then white supremacy, European Caucasian supremacy is what it's all about. And them control the thing. And it's their country. The best part of their people should have been the ones that tell them this is not right. And many of them are doing it right now. They are doing it right now. Okay. So the Constitution in America needs a strong delegation, and it needs a depuration. Needs a lot of things. There's a lot of hurdles. There's lots of procedures needed to be done. You understand? It would be a talk shop that would not go anywhere, just like England, right? They will use up our young people in energy. They will show a lot of frustration and anger and so on, and they would use that and make us look silly, and nothing would happen. And like they're going to charm people for carnival and lock up a whole heap because that's how we play. We still work with water, the murky water. And the highlight of that hasn't really come to fruition yet. So just let me swim through the thing and you'll get the real deal. So we have the racism, as everyone knows. We have the pain. We understand the magnitude. What we need to do is not allow these things to be alleviated, meaning nothing happened. And then it becomes lectures in university theaters and college theaters just to aggravate some of our youngsters, young people, and to get an analysis from them, knowing that there's been a calming effect and that nothing was done. And then they want to define why it was necessary for them to be wanting colonial statues of this country to be torn down. So all of these things will happen on the return to colleges and universities. And for some people, it's going to be detrimental to their qualifications. So they're always going to be depending on how a person uses their minds again. You know, they can be caught flat-footed. And they can be caught complying and non-compliance, compromising, not compromising. It's detrimental. See, this is the hurt These are hardships that are people who controls the system. And we haven't got anyone within those regulatory bodies. We don't have matching institution. We don't have a school, let alone a college. So we can't do. We just have to play by ear and compromise. Don't you understand? That's where it becomes very pitiful. And America's woken up to that. That they have millions and millions of dollars as athletes and as African Americans. But they don't see themselves as a whole. They don't see themselves. See? And we at their level over here. You know? But the way we do behave, and we did have real monies, we all be the same. Because all of us have received theological education. And all of our environments are very, very, very similar. So the expectations for the system at hand is the same. They know how to adjust and readjust to it. What are we going to do for our children? That's why we're here. Have a different voice, different perspective. And there are many others that have the same perspective of us. And they're not fraudulent. But instead of some of us not spending time with a popular radio station and giving them our views and criticizing ourselves, we go to the national station and do that. And they have a laugh because now they're saying anything and everything that happens to you, nah, you're going to say racism, racism. See? Trivializing and ridiculing. Yeah, we have to learn. We have to learn. There's so much to learn. And there's so much that we should have learned over the past years. No, toxic. I think I've cleared that toxicity up. Now, murky water, my dear people. Should I have a break here and play a tune or something? Because I've been speaking for the longest while and everything. Yeah. Observation, I tell you. Yeah. Sometimes I wish principle is on the case, man. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Young people. Oh, yeah, young people. I'm searching for a young person's song. Special request, a lot of people out there, enough people, trust me.
In
a conversation. And it showed to be an illiterate boy, 'cause you could not spell your name, although your mind is deserted. You ain't blind to see that you're no good for me, though I'd accept your apology.
See, that's what I tell you. Me, I'm not one of them back down persons. I tell you, I'm not. And I'm too old to go down that road there. You understand? And I don't know what that road is really, you know. But I'm not a back down person. Yeah!
Only dread can come over. Babylon, them are weeping, and the morning, yes, weeping, and the morning, Lord. Babylon, them are weeping, and the morning, yes, weeping, and the morning, because them brother, them a drop out, and them no know to come over. Only dread can come over. Babylon can't get over. No, so whip them, Jaja, Jaja, whip them, Lord. Whip them, Jaja, Jaja, whip them. Whip them, Jaja, Jaja, whip them, Lord. Whip them, Jaja.
Yeah, man. Dennis Emmanuel Brown. Yeah. We bring him to England on record, you know.
Welcome, woman. Yeah, welcome.
All my lady friends. Yeah, no matter how few you are, this is best.
Welcome, woman. Yeah, welcome. Oh, yeah. Welcome, woman. How can you tell me? How can you tell me how much you miss me?
You know what I mean? Make a man heart weak. Yeah, make a man heart weak, star. I tell you. Why did I do that? Because I could. Yes. People, sometimes we have to look at ourselves and we give some symbolic gestures and analytical gestures. Yeah? Pay attention and you find out what take place. You understand? Because why is me attack and other people are deal with their things and the world are listen to it things. You have to understand things. Our ancestors used to play a drum. You understand? A signal going across to St. Lucia, one going across to St. Vincent, and come all the way back to Barbados, going from Barbados back again, and reach all Trinidad. We better understand them something then. You think so just because you have phone, and you not use a phone. You have computer, and you not use a RAS computer. And then somebody can type and want to call me fraud. Yeah, leave that alone. Anyway, there was a time where we were bought and sold. During this period of time, we are dealing with a thing called the unknown, obviously. And we are regurgitating and projecting a time past to, and we're going to come straight up to where we're at so you get a reality of the whole something. So, that unknown by the colonial bosses, European peoples, them give we a name. But the name was unknown. What is the unknown name? And the name supposed to be a title also. But all of us have it. That was an X. That was an X. So a slave, a person that came in from Africa, these European people, them, give you an unknown title, X. And them sure we offer met them two line. So you see, mentally, and this clean water that becomes murky, you still understand why water. It's a mental containment, mental abuse. And these are things that we have faced and we have experienced. A lot of you are paying attention right now. You have to understand that the reparational movement headed by Mr. Beckles, all of this documentation, all of these wordings, all this historical evidence, the whole journey has to be tabled. The mental brutality, water is life. Once it's clean. Murky water is polluted water by men, by humans. By humans. Everything that the Almighty God give us on this earth is for our benefit. But the words that we use, like pollution, we create that, human beings. But yet still, we seek to survive. We want to survive. So our foreparents were unknown, were stripped, and they were made to be erased for where they were at. They had names. They had language. They were valuable. They belong to others. They're humans. But they were ostracized. And they were made into unknowns. So the murkiness that they've experienced and the murkiness that we experience in what we will call the modern era of mysteries and mythologies. One thing I can say about it, they're being consistent. They have been consistent. But some of us play the same mythology game that they portray on us because they've accepted a position. This is how we become our worst nightmare and our worst enemies. Psychological entrapment. The freedom that the European offered to our ancestors was freedom to worship, freedom to know of their God, freedom to exercise and learn their rituals. That is the freedom that the European slave masters has offered our ancestors and still has offered us. That's the first freedom. We still think that that water was clean. But it was polluted. It was murky water. We couldn't speak to our captors and tell them that the water was unclean. We couldn't speak to them and say that this thing was affecting my mind, my mentality. We couldn't, because we were entrapped. Symbolism, not the statues that people are seeing out there, symbolism and symbolic gestures were taught to us and displayed in front of us. So we saw the cross that bared an image, and we were taught concerning that image and that cross. Bearing in mind that this is reflective, but remember, we don't have any form of knowledge. So we're accessible, and we're accessible in the psychological chain of entrapment. And what proceeded and have continued to proceed out of that. But we are people that seeks inspiration, and we strive on inspiration. African people, black people. And they were aware of that. So for how long were we denied our true self? How long were we prohibited from inspiring our one another? So with the symbolism and the symbolic entrapment and the psychological entrapment and the reflective symbols, and then to be encouraged, to express ourselves. And some to be allowed to use their voices. You know that we're very creative. That psychological entrapment is still here. Difference is we're doing it freely. But the charge hand is still the same. The retainer is still the same. Lacking of dependency? Yes, somewhat. But what did we do with this evolution of freedom? Before he fully allowed any form of true inspiration, we were still depending on the plantation bosses. And we're meant to be free. Stay with that. We were cleaners, were domesticated servants. Again, we're still servants, but we're now, you know, could be a prestigious home. But we're doing all of these menial work. Some is still out there in the fields picking cotton. Some is cutting canes. Nothing changed. We need to understand that. That so-called freedom from slavery, nothing changed. Really, it was just that the chain the bondage was eased up. But the dependency of our ancestors remain. Remember, they don't know nothing. So when people jump all the way up to Frederick Douglass, they have disregarded the years up to the Frederick Douglass in them. Them seem like somehow we jump so fast forward that you miss all these other people. They were like Frederick Douglass, and this generation and this period, right, was excellent because, you know, they've got on all these nice clothes and their hair is brushed and so forth. Got shoes on as well. So you see, that's part of this psychological entrapment of the minds and the evaluation of where we were to where we should be, and looking at the chain of events. So then you realize the amount of hostility, the amount of mental damages, right, and the trials and error in relation to the survival that's got us here. Because we're the protogene of all that. Now, if they didn't survive, there wouldn't be no us. So that didn't just happen like Back to the Future, finish. You know, so the murky waters is what we experience for many, many, many years. Because we depend on water, as like the others. But the water that we receive were murky water. We weren't able to make use of productivity. We couldn't be speaking about no productivity. We just could not get out of and could not find clean water, even though it was in our proximity. Murky waters all that was made available to us. Why am I using that? We weren't allowed to be anybody. We survived the best way we could. And true to the way in which we are formed and the pledges of Almighty God, we survived. But here's where things went bad. Terrible. The man allowed a little bit more freedom because he wants to see how far his methodology, what turns has it taken, if any. So he gave us an opportunity to inspire ourselves. And what did we do? We become the shoe shine boy. We sung and danced for the same master. We showed them how creative and flamboyant we can be. Some of us. Then we started to wear and dress similar to them. Introducing some of us into societies. Bringing us off the farm. Bringing us off these restricted zones. Why am I going there now? It's the same way the rural areas, working class and suburbia is developed here and the States. And if you're seen anywhere in suburbia, it's not just that you are a thief, you should be arrested or you should be shot. Because that level within society, they never intended for us to be there. It was never intended to share anything with us. We weren't meant to be partners in any which way or fashion. It meant to be master and servant. That's the next thing we need to understand. That's how them set up them system, because we weren't a people who came and joined them. We were people that were kidnapped and put in bondage, and as in slavery, to do what they wanted us to do and more. So when them take these people out of what them say is, and them say that you're free, my question is, free to do what? So when you examine it, you can see why the repercussions that what we receive as black people across this earth from the Caucasian. That's why. It's not two equal term people. It's a number of people that was given some privilege by an oppressive bodies. And that's how them see it, and that's how them like it. And that's how it is. What should have happened to us is that the League of Nations and the continuing push for us to be going back home, that should never have stopped. And that push, when the League of Nations was formed, it should never have decreased. And I had a young Malcolm Shabazz made us know that many of our ancestors were crying for such. So he made it clear after meeting leaders on the continent and other influential individuals on the continent what he will table to the United Nations in relation to us in the diaspora. Children of the slave, the Africans in the diaspora. And we haven't got any help in those areas. So, the freedom that them gave was to allow some peoples to deck themselves with jewelry, cars, and it seemed that them have some form of dependencies. You won't call it independence because we're just being steered by our masters. And that had a damaging effect because as the 60s, 70s, 80s descend upon us, we see that took precedent all across the US of A and then the Caribbean. Flashing jewelries, tinting up cars, behaving like this is the real moral icons. So we got socially trapped in vanity. All psychological entrapment. And all our social environments is poisoned and polluted with the same trend. Murky in the atmosphere. No clean water to be found. And water is life. It's precious. It's precious. You go into some of our communities, some of our countries, and the filth and the sewage and the dirty waters all over the place. And these are islands. And mosquitoes, they having festivities. They're encouraged to be flourishing. And the water is murky. The water is stink. But water is life. And we're in the 21st century. And we're divided by first world, second world, and no hope world. We're divided by the G7s, that maybe now G12s, and no hopers. We're divided by the International Monetary Fund's entrapment, interest killing, and a murky condition is polluted by guns and narcotics. Water is still murky. It still stinks. And we're looking for survival. Are we? It's a trend. It's been there from the day they said you're free. And when they pursue it to say, here's what freedom looks like. And the best of the freedoms are those who are in the church. The best of the freedom are those who are in the church, reside in that society. Deliberately entrapped, psychologically positioned, the way it was designed, but the best of us are in those institutions. Why? Because it's the way that system was constructed. And you take a glimpse on the continent and you see the same. You see exactly the same. It's just the experience of getting there is different. The entrapment, the enslavement of the diasporans, psychological entrapment and direction was given on the continent. Different scenarios. One was brutalized, one weren't. One was played with dishonesty, illegal entrapments, illegal activities, but still persecution of your mind, entrapment of your mentality, toxic poisoning. That's what's done on the continent. Is this your own phenomenon? Of course it is. But is it yours? No. It's ours. It's what has happened. It's what is happening. Your own depiction, is it fraudulent? Could be. Where did you dispose of it? It's what I've analyzed. It's what I've analyzed. Social rejection. Who does that? Society. Which society? Your colonial bosses. So are you saying that black people are still servitude slaves? Yes. But we also glamorize the ideas coming from our oppressors. Why is that? Because we seem not to identify that they are the ones who are responsible for the way we are. The best thing that they could have done is return us hence where they took us from. That's freedom. Until that's happened, there wouldn't be no freedom for any black person in the diaspora. There'd be none. No matter what they paint it to be, we're never going to be equal with any European, because the European is at home. Even when the European leaves his home and go to the US, he's at home. It's his people who runs that spot. He knows that, and they know that he knows that, and they're all in it together. They're not harsh and hard against themselves. Why should they? They seek for self-supremacy. It has something to do with how they perceive life. Now, how does the children of the slaves in the diaspora get out of this one? reparation is good. We should be asking to be sent home. Those of us who want to go home, they make it possible for us to be able to, for us to go home. There's nothing else. That will stop all the long talking, all the long meetings, and the drawing out, because that's what the Europeans are good at. They'll be there for decades and decades and decades, because they want to know, how can we prove that you're one of the children of the diasporas? I mean, that's idiotic. That's just nonsensical. We shouldn't even bother discuss that. We are that. That's it. Finish. Nothing else. What you regret is that we are alive. Just deal with it. We are the children. We acknowledge that. You should know that. What are you going to do? Ask me to prove that I am, and then tell me that you can't find any documentation verifying that fact. Come on, man. That's just, we shouldn't go there. So that's what we should be under. So instead of me spending my energy trying to pull some statues down, our energy should be saying, repatriate. Why is reparation being discussed? Repatriate all of us who wants to go back, who wants to go home. And home means Africa. And let the negotiations start with all the African nations, countries, in view of such. Because as long as we live, we're not going to precisely know which region. We ain't going to know our great-great-great-grandfather and grandmother and all of that. But if any human being wants to allow us to have clean water, it would be to allow us, through your colonial past and powers, all of you Europeans, send us back to Africa. Now, start with me. You can say, well, what? I want all my amenities. Yes, they're mine. Once it doesn't interfere with security to the country, I want all my things them. Put in a ship or put on an airplane and taken to the destination of my choice once the country accepts me. And they should. They all should be made to accept any of us, all of us, wherever we want to go. So I just want my belongings. Rightly so. You shouldn't just tell me, go back with all that you've got on your back. That's how you bought us. But since we've been among you for so long, we've been able to accumulate. And we have to reprogram ourselves to learn how to speak to our own people. Can you imagine? We ain't got the time. Time again. And if in 72 years you give the Askanaki, we don't know how much millions. For what purpose you give them, we don't know. But you've made sure, and you've helped them to build a country, secure a country, build and kick other people them out of them own land. We won't be kicking anybody out of Africa. We'll just be returning home We're legal. We are, hey, listen, we're more than 1,000,000% legal. There's nothing illegal or fraudulent about us. So just open up your church and all its banks accounts and open up your International Monetary Fund. Just open up your financial, whatever you want to call it. And just let us go, man. You see that financial thing? You can discuss that till the cows come home with the presidents and all of them things, them people. But you see us? We want the presidents to give us some land. Some of us will build our own house, and some of us want house. That's it. That's it. Now, that which is being given to the Askanakis, them got the land, and they take more land, and they continue to take more land. Listen, problems are taking place in Palestine right now. Been taking place. Why is they deflecting all the rubbish going on in America? They're just doing the most dirtiest shit in the life of innocent elders and children. And your Imprenero and this Barris here, and them know all about it. Dangerous people. Dangerous people. Them know about it. But we just get your airplanes and things and just let us who want go home. Go home. That's justice. That's justice. You understand? You see? That's justice. You've used the murky water. You've used your toxic poisoning. You've used your church. You've entrapped us. You've enslaved our minds. You've made us dependent on you in every which way or form. Once we are among you, that's what we are. We're the best entertainers in the world for you. We're the best dramas in the world for you. We're the best dancers in the world for you. We're creative for you. What do we do for ourselves? Pray someone tell us. What do we actually do for ourselves? There was an allegory, a pleasant story that shows the history of a people's living and respecting and binding themselves together. I put that story, that allegory, that story together by showing and explaining on this very program how Yusuf alayhi salam contributed to Kemet and how noble and just a pharaoh were, and beg the question, who came first, Moses or Joseph? For Moses found himself a Meridian after fleeing Kemet, knowing that the law will be severe on him for striking, not maiming, but killing. The person died. So he knew the law. Even though he's in the top family, he didn't choose to represent himself. He chose to run from the law. But fortunately, he encountered a family. And that family raised him, nourished him. Yes, they raised him again. He was raised outside of his natural family. But he also encountered God. So where thou standest, O thee, Moses, take thy shoes off, take thy slippers from off thy feet, because I standeth on holy ground, says the Lord. So he encountered, this is Moses. To run the story fast, Moses returned and encountered his stepbrother. Not being elatedly happy to see him, but they saw and greeted one another. But Moses was commissioned to tell his stepbrother that he was not acting aright. But his stepbrother told him, "Oh, ye Moses, don't forget, we know you. I know you. And all that you're speaking of, Moses, desist. For there's only one God here, and that's me." So the problems for Egypt started right there with those words. But to run that fast forward, there's a lot of indecisions, there's a lot of murky waters taking place. And Moses and Aaron, his brother, who was eloquent in speech, spoke to his stepbrother constantly and tried to let him understand that God was not happy with how he's running things. Even his greatest physicians, they pleaded with him to desist from this new way, this new approach. But he wouldn't. And they had to part ways. Not Moses, peoples from Pharaoh's peoples. And there was people who wanted good, and there were people who like oppression. They preferred to stay with the oppressor. They wanted to be part of the oppressing regime, the oppressing power, you know. So, you know the story. After being ignominious and the murky water that he was pushing to Moses and Aaron and all the people, he started to receive his own water. Yes, started to receive his own murky water now. So him said, "Here what happened? Una have to go." See? He was asked politely, you know, to allow me to live. Refuse. All of a sudden, get arrogant and say, "Cha, get out. Una have to go." So that was the parting of the ways. And that happened through duress. That happened through ignorance and intolerance. That's what's happening to us. It's just that you're letting us die off. And all dying in a strange land. And we haven't yet been matured. You let us die miserable children. And we prefer to die happy. And that may I say. We want to die happy. We don't want to die miserable. We don't want to die in a foreign land with hatred and animosity and bigotry and racism. All these damn nonsense. We want to have a good death. We want our souls to swim. We want our souls to leave our body with ease, not ripped out of our jugular. No. We don't want to die with oppression. That's the difference between the African and the Caucasian. He doesn't care. Have no respect for life. So you can have your water. Give us freedom. Allow us to have freedom. Now those of you who say, well, them story there, them parables, them allegories. Yes, they are stories. That's an allegory. Never said that they are fictional. But you have analytical stories that symbolisms or symbolic gestures are used within. So you have to know what symbols are you reading? What allegory in the symbols? What analytical or analogical tales are being projected also? There's two stories. Is it irrational? Is it illogical? Or is it mythological? That's where the pastors needs to step up. Should we be living in that sphere? No. Is it useful to know? Yes. How be? Depending on who's deciphering and what is in it for them to look good, to sound good, or to alleviate problems. Alleviate really restrictions, psychological restrictions, mental restrictions. This is a part of me I like, but there's no time for this because it's always have a discourse between several peoples. I can't be the first person and the second person, and I can't plagiarize and then become a fourth person. See, that's where that person thinks I'm fraudulent because sometimes that's what he thinks he hears. So we need to relieve ourselves from mythologies, and we need to embrace both Moses, Musa alayhi salam, and Yusuf, Joseph. Joseph shows that we are a God-fearing people. We're not a people of X. We have names. We have tradition. we have morality, we have culture, we have values. God loves us. God knows dislove anybody is that people fall out of love with God by their actions. Yes. So, saying that Joseph showed mankind, how to live, not being greedy, how to share, how to store, how to keep the water clean, not murky. So we have reservoirs. So we have good farms, but we also have storehouses. So we have feeding places that we call supermarkets. And we created employment in all of those sectors because they need to be supported. They need to be maintained. And the water needs not to be polluted, for even the animals require clean water, let alone the human beings. And the germination of all our crops is natural through nature. So the birds and the bees and the ants, they need to be catered for. Their environment doesn't need to be toxic. This is what evil men do. So Africans, do we want to ride with God or do we want to stay with the Caucasian? Let's make up our minds. Even though we have the C-19, let's make up our minds. This C-19 also helps us to think and value our existence. Because these people, they don't care about life. They want power and they want money. They want authority. When they see that any farm, what they call authority, is lacking, they need to stir up things. That's why they play with the water. They need to stir up things. And that makes them, that gives them something to do. That's like an entertainment. And we haven't got the penicillin called restriction. We cannot restrict them. That's the way they are. Think about Cain and Abel. There was no other beings that made Cain respond the way he did. And it's a nature, it's an inherent nature of us, right, that wasn't completed. The Caucasians know something of this. That's why they play it. They get excited by such things. So what did Cain do? Became miserable. No contentment. And then lose his cool. And took that side of what was not fully developed and got rid of his brother. His brother, not some enemy, his brother. Not some opposition, his brother. That's supposed to teach us something. Pastors, get on it. And a similar story is there with Noah, but not the story of Ham, Shem, and Japheth. That's racist. All these things are designed analytically by the Europeans. So, we need to request strongly. We want repatriation. We want to be repatriated like any minute now. No joke business. And we don't want to hear no more mythologies. And we want to restrict our children from mythologies. And know God. Be like Atton Norton, people. What happened to him? You know, Atton Norton left his people that wanted to retain the Pharaoh of the generation of Moses. So Akhenaten moved up into what we call Sudan, up the Blue Nile. When I know that, innit? Or you don't. Monotheism has always been with us. Why you want to change? Why? You want to be a Roman? You want to be a Greek? When the Greek came and learned from our ancestors, if not for the Greek and their learning and not plagiarizing, maybe we've been extinct by now. Maybe most of our history would have been told, would not have been told. It's not too late for a shower of rain. Always have clean water. Did I drop that in nice? So, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive anything that I've said incorrectly. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless all of you. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive me. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala set us on the right track. We had a bad experience this evening. We weren't allowed on. Yeah, we weren't allowed on. So we got on, and that's it. So I will come back on part 2, inshallah. We have an intro that we come in with, and we have a leave-in selection that we're going out with. So may God bless you all. Assalamu alaikum, guidance to each and every one. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, we have 8 rhythms for you to listen to. So guidance to each everybody. Yeah, man.
Behold, how good and how pleasant it is for I and his brothers and sisters to dwell together in unity and love. Anyway, 1, 2, or 3 of us gather together, gotta make love and make no war. Love is lovely and war is very ugly. So gotta make love, ain't no bother with no war. So make we give thanks and praise unto Jah. So make we give thanks and praise unto Jah. Jah is the King of kings, of a Lord of lords, conquering Lion of the tribe of Judah. I elect of God, ever living God, earth and rightful ruler. Don't be no fool, y'all. Make we give thanks and praise unto Jah. Make we give thanks and praise unto Jah. Inna the east, inna the west, inna the north and south, children in the ghetto them a cry out. Say them want more food inna them mouth, vagabond new blood in them out. So make we give thanks and praise unto Jah. Oh, give thanks and praise unto Jah. I me say people a get bad mind and corrupted, but those who are really stupid. So time for you take up the holy book and walk around town and look. Make we give thanks and praise unto Jah. Give thanks and praise unto Jah. I'm in a time like this, you have to understand that you're not trying to hurt your brother, man. Let's get together and join hands in hand. Farm up the land and make we set up a plan, and let us give praise to the Holy One. I'm in the that Light, and I salvation. Whom shall I fear when I don't fear no one? When the wicked come to eat up my flesh and show the stumble and fall, for Jah always rise and the wicked have to fall. They say two little black birds set up on a wall, but the one named Peter, the other named Paul. Say fly away your Peter, me say fly away Paul. Farm with a Peter, me couldn't find Paul. Jah hit him with the double plate ball, till the Jah clap him with a lightning ball, till the Jah strike him with a double plate ball. See that Jah strike him with a lightning ball. That's why me say you better give thanks and praise unto Jah. Make we give thanks and praise unto Jah. I say behold how good and how pleasant it is. From brethren and brethren to dwell together, unity and love. I may say anyway, one or two or three of us gather together. I say you got to stick together and come back with a better. I may say love you one another and your future will be better. Are you being Rasta? So man, I make we give thanks and praise unto Jah. So make we give thanks and praise unto Jah. As if you're black or white, no worry, fuss or fight. Each and every one is precious in the Almighty sight. All you want to do is try to unite and do the right. And listen that around the veteran attack it on the mic. Give thanks and praise unto Jah. Make we give thanks and praise unto Jah. Because Jah the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. Conquering Lion of the tribe of Judah. I elect of God, ever living God. Earth rightful ruler. So you got to stick together like a bird of a feather. Love you one another like a sister and a brother. Make we give thanks and praise unto Jah. I make we give thanks and praise unto Jah. Yeah, you know. Each and every day round along the way. That's what my mind say when I play the rhythm way that can make it swing and sway. I say no matter Satan is to show they go astray. Pick up your Bible and start to pray. And I tell you, you must get paid. So listen down the bone, what you really have to say. Put on the record, let the rhythm play. And rock the rubber dub until the break of the day. Make we give thanks and praise unto Jah. And I make we give thanks and praise unto Jah. I say no matter if you're black, no matter if you're white, each and every one is precious in God's sight. Listen, Hugh Brown, the veteran, talk on the mic. Say let's get together and all unite. I say no bother with no fuss, I say no bother with no fight. Make we rock reggae music till broad daylight. And give thanks and praise unto Jah. 4 corners of the world, talking to the boys and girls, you know. Give thanks and praise unto Jah. Jah! Give thanks and praise unto Jah. And I make we give thanks and praise unto Jah. I see the wally, so no bother with no folly. You smoke your sense of mina and you smoke up your cali. And then you dolly down the alley and you feel a color jolly. Make we give thanks and praise unto Jah. I make we give thanks and praise unto Jah.
Lieutenant Stitchy and Fantan,
Stitchy and Fantan.
no matter what nation,
No matter what nation,
your heart a fi pure, fi see Zion. Why yo? Me no in a nothing with no wicked heart people. Good over evil we promote. And a joke, get up every day and them a study be your evil. What's up you now your back and cut your throat? We no in a nothing with no wicked heart people. Good over evil we promote. And a joke, get up every day and them a study be your evil. What's up you now your back and cut your throat? Me no in a way them mean. If I hypocrite rule, me no play that neither. Man heart back slow like ice and the bad mind make them bitter like a cedar. Some of we can't drink and I rubber with the island of his mother, yeah, she a reader. Them a smile and a deal, but me know them no real, none of them me no feel them neither. Them a act like Benz and BM, but me know the whole of them a broke down Cartina. Hey, but them no good, them no good. Nobody no love them in the neighborhood. Them no good, them no good. Nah sure no love me say like them should. Me no in a nothing with no wicked heart people. Good over evil we promote. And a joke, get up every day and them a study be a evil. What's up you now your back and cut your throat? We no in a nothing with no wicked heart people. Good over evil we promote. And a joke, get up every day and them a study be a evil. What's up you now your back and cut your throat? Bad mind a sitting where me fling a fire pan. Now get caught in a them T-junction. When I mix, when I mingle, me bun bandwagon. Warrior for Jah we stand strong.
all from you a giant in everywhere you get slay like Goliath. Never know say me a David with the sword for your diet. Delilah full of deception, Samson slay them in a the riot. Jezebel full of corruption, stop shot. That's why
Me no in a nothing with no wicked heart people. Good over evil we promote. And a joke, Get up every day and them a study be your evil. What's up you now your back and cut your throat? We know in a nothing with no wicked heart people. Good over evil we promote. And a joke. Get up every day and them a study be your evil. What's up you now your back and cut your throat? Mina ila with a mina. Mina ila with a mina. Pretend to be the children of light, but me know they will have them of an evil agenda. Them a try to attack, but that's when the father protect me. Them me no member, cause I could over evil, no wicked people. Could never be family member. Too much temper, none of them could never fit all me donkey yamba. Me no in a nothing with no wicked heart people. Good over evil we promote. And a joke, get up every day and them a study be your evil. What's up you now your back and cut your throat? We know in a nothing with no wicked heart people. Good over evil we promote. And a joke, get up every day and them a study be your evil. What's up you now your back and cut your throat?
mercy, come on, well, see you can't blame the youth if them go take up them gun. No way, you can't blame the youth. Them see no better can come. Oh Lord, you can't blame the youth if them go take up them gun. No, you can't blame the youth. Them see no better can come. Hear what? Under the planet, moon, stars and sun, the way the world I run, me know the gun can't put down. Got the youths in the ghetto, the youths in the slum. Want some dollars, but no dollars not run. Him have a hope for the better, but no better can't come. That's why them turn to them damn and dumb. You can't blame the youth if them go take up them gun. No, you can't blame the youth. Them see no better can come. Oh Lord, you can't blame the youth if them go take up them gun. Oh Lord, you can't blame the youth. Them see no better can come. Whoa, yeah. Whoa, yeah. You got my helping hand. Oh Lord, oh yeah. Oh Lord, hey. Yes, the system is getting greater than dread. The rich man in a mansion, poor people in a shed. The rich have it all while the poor on the fret. One Luciana lick the nail on the head. Say you can't blame the youth if them go take up them gun. No, you can't blame the youth. Them see no better can come. Why yo? You can't blame the youth if them go take up them gun. Wow, yo, you can't blame the youth. Them see no better can come. Whoa, Lord of mercy. Whoa, Lord of mercy. Give them a helping hand. Oh, oh Lord, oh wait, hey. If we don't know how to train our youth, right? What will the mean of tomorrow be? Oh yeah. And if we can look into the future, we will have no control over destiny. I say you can't blame the youth if them go take up them gun. Oh Lord, you can't blame the youth. Them see no better can come. No, you can't blame the youth if them go take up them gun. No, you can't blame the youth. Them see no better can come. Give them a helping hand. Give them a helping hand. Why? How can you be sitting there telling me how much you care, really and truly, when all around me in every way, people struggle, people suffer, people fight from day to day.
So hard at times, and I don't know where to go. No. Sometimes I feel like giving up, but God knows I keep trying my very best, trying to find a peace of mind. I see time. Time. Soon I'll leave my troubles behind. Maybe I'm just a dreamer, hoping for better to come. From day to day, I'm
troubles behind. I say Jah is the master, and he rules everything. If I continue to serve him, yes, I know that I will win. Boy, Lord.
With a spirit of noble endurance, I will continue. And I won't give up until the ending of my day.
Maybe I'm a dreamer, but I must find a better way. Some way, someday. I say time is the master. A time rules everything. And I'm just taking one day at a time. Soon I leave my trouble behind. Time is the master, and time has no measure. So I'm just taking one day at a time. Soon I leave my troubles behind. Ain't no stopping me now. I'm moving on ahead. Victory will be mine at the ending of the day. With God by my side, I know peace will abide. So we're moving on. With God in my heart. Oh, time, time, long time, I can tell. I say time, a long time, a long time.
Hey, moving forward, yeah. Forward, march, march, till we get justice. March, 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 resist injustice. March, even if blood run, we will not back down. We keep on going. We keep holding on. We got no guns and no nuclear bombs, man. Unity make us strong, strong, strong. Why should we be silent while we are being down pressed? We must rise up on our feet and protest. March, march, till we get justice. March, 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 resist injustice. March, beatings and tear gas, rubber bullets and tasers, water cannon, still we are gallant. Live ammunition, still hold position, keep the resistance. No give up, we give thanks. We won't be silenced by their violence. We'll be chanting right to the end. March, march, till we get justice. March, 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 resist injustice. March. Oh children fight the same battle tomorrow. We must overcome through the powers of the Most High for the betterment of the children. March, march, till we get justice. March, 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 resist injustice. March, 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 till we get justice. March, 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 resist injustice. March.
Jupiter, how the devil them a just in here? Green link, how are this? No energy drink. Huh. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. And the thing them where you chat, put you in a that spot. Nobody know I see you. Respect we take it back to the way you a act. Nothing we no happy give you. The last time we let you in, you try kick we out, so we not let you back in. Now you're outside and knock, but too late the shop lock. Nothing we no happy do you. Go away, go away. Go back to who send you. Good people condemn you. Yeah. Go away, go away. Good people not friend you. Dirty boy we condemn you. Yeah. Carry go bring come a little fry mouth. See people business and a spite out. Long time we a wonder over the inform of the news carrier we just a find out. At the hands of your feed you come a bite out. Real people you come a fight out. Them a go put you in a hole where you can't climb out. I send round people chat from voice now. Go away, go away. Go back to who send you. Wicked boy we condemn you. Whoa, boy. Go away, go away. Good people condemn you. Dirty boy, we not friend, yo. Yeah. Every day say you're out there on the street. Chatting people name and chatting people business. The world is moving, you're stuck there like a tree. Chatting people name and chatting people business. 10 years from now, tell me where you gonna be. Chatting people name and chatting people business. You shoulda know, say you woulda get a beat. Chatting people name and chatting people business. Go away. Go away. Good people condemn you. Dirty boy we not friend you. Whoa, go away. Go away. Go back to who send you. Real people condemn you. Hey, go away. Go away. Dirty boy we not friend you. Good people condemn you. Hey, go away, go away, go away. But we don't sit. You done? Alright.
Bad-minded people. Now watch them cause I saw them stay. Jealous heart people. Now watch them cause I saw them stay. When things gone wrong as they sometime will. Now listen them because them bad minds subtle. When them a talk we no hear them. carry dirty heart. That's why them stoop low. Word is a wind, but you can't fling a blow. Man, I coulda pop it up, but I chew them no no. Give them your right, them things say you're soft. Them chicks say that you pop down, but you rise and a flash. Them call you boss, behind your back, them still alive. Tell them take off the hypocrite mask. When them a talk, we no hear them. We no need them, so we not go near them. When them a talk, we no hear them. Woulda be the baddest bully, we no fear them. When them a talk, we no hear them. We no need them, so we not go near them. When them a talk, we no hear them. Woulda be the baddest bully, we no. Better them stay mute, cause them can't take truth. See all them criticism, Rastaman a go refute. See enough of them a drop down, Rastaman a improve. And no good for the gang, and no good for the goose. None of them can catch me foot loose. Hey, they even if it is a threat or a truth. Yes, I got a padlock for the loose slip where you carry bad news. Them a talk what the hell they can do. When them a talk, we no hear them. We no need them, so we not go near them. When them a talk, we no hear them. Woulda be the baddest bully, we no fear them. When them a talk, we no hear them. We no need them, so we not go near them. When them a talk, we no hear them. Woulda be the baddest bully, we no. I've got no use for no foes. We no need them, none at all. They know we ain't gonna fall. Oh yeah, I know with them things won't get better. No, so we no need them, none at all. Oh yeah, when them a talk, we no hear them.
Now I'm not bragging. God gets the glory out of my story. He gave me the strength every day to do what I got to do. And he can do it for you too. All you gotta do is ask for it. Matthew chapter 7, verse 7 say, ask and then you will receive. Seek and you shall find. Knock and the door will be open for you. Stop sitting around acting like you waiting on God. Baby, God waiting on you. All right now. Two doors.
Let's get
out of my story. He gave me the strength every day to do what I got to do. And he can do it for you too. All you gotta do is ask for it. Matthew chapter 7, verse 7 say, ask and then you will receive. Seek and you shall find. Knock and now I'm not bragging. God gets the glory out of my story. He gave me the strength every day to do what I got to do. And he can do it for you too. All you gotta do is ask for it. Matthew chapter 7, verse 7 say, ask and then you will receive. Seek and you shall find. Knock and the door will be open for you. Stop sitting around acting like you waiting on God. Baby, God waiting on you. All right now. Toodles.
Guidance. Thursday, God willing.